Shannon Eastin, everyone, and a friend of mine, and just a dear, dear person. I would love for you to introduce yourself, if you would, please, Shannon, and tell us about you.
Um, as Liz said, my name is Shannon Eastin. I am the Commissioner of Officials for the Canyon Athletic Association, where I assign sports officials and work to develop and train them. And I worked as an official for a long time in a couple different sports, football and basketball. So Liz, thank you for having me, and I
Absolutely.
appreciate this opportunity.
Oh, great. Thank you, Shannon. So you really have had some challenges and you have had to learn some resilience along your career path. And what are some of the biggest challenges that you've had? And what is your biggest claim to fame at the moment?
Challenges, probably most of the challenges came from just being a woman in a man's world. Even as a youngster, my sport growing up was a sport called judo, and I was competing with judo at a high level, but unfortunately, it was not an Olympic sport. So when I was 15, I had to decide, did I want to go another 3 years to train and compete for it to be an Olympic sport for women as just a demonstration sport. But then beyond that, I would have had to go another 4 years for it to become a medal sport. So it was a sport for men in the Olympics, but it wasn't for women. So challenges early on, that was probably my first encounter with just being in a man's world, so to speak. And then later on in the officiating world, my goal was to be in the NFL. And when I started in 1996, there weren't hardly any women even working at low levels, even at the high school level. So just the challenges that I ran into all the way through high school, college, and then finally getting an opportunity in 2012 to work in the NFL. But despite the challenges, there were a lot of great people that helped me. So it's not a sob story by any means. You just figure out ways to work through the challenges.
The resilience, right? And
Yep.
just have to keep bouncing back, right? And it's not beating you down, but bouncing you so that you rise higher, right?
Yep,
So
that's
you
true.
weren't just a part of the NFL. You have a claim to fame with the NFL.
So in 2012, I was the first female to work in the NFL. So I mean, that was a great opportunity, and I guess that would be my claim to fame at this point. So
I would definitely say that's a big claim to fame to put in your hat for sure. And proud of you for doing it because I know that was a lot of hard work and you
thank you.
did it well and with grace. And honestly, I did not even know you then personally, but I think I've told you, I still have a snapshot in my mind of them announcing you. And it kind of made me emotional to think I just hadn't thought about the fact that there weren't NFL refs at that point, and then realizing that that was another moment in time, where we broke the glass barrier, so to speak, and, just another claim to fame for, just equality, probably is the
Mhm.
best way to put that, and I know that you've had to work super hard in order to get in that position to start with. Just as a person and as a woman, you have to prove yourself. And
Yeah.
tell us some of the stories from that first game. You had to
Um,
be just on pins and
yeah.
needles.
Yeah, the first game in San Diego was awesome. It was there was a lot going into the game, a lot of outside distractions, a lot of
Mhm.
media attention, a lot of people wanting to do interviews. The NFL did not want me to answer those calls, emails, no interviews, but they did arrange for one national call so that everybody that wanted to talk to me had an opportunity to ask questions. And it was a pretty cool call. There's a lot of uh, reporters and things on there, and one of the questions that was asked to me was, who were some of your mentors? And when I had mentioned a name by a man by the name of Red Cashin, one female reporter said, hey, I just talked to Red, and he said that female official is going to be the best official on the field. And so
Oh,
that was pretty cool hearing that from Red, who was a longtime NFL official, one of the highest respected officials ever to work. So that was a cool moment. And then just leading up to the game, just a lot of, people texting me, calling me, wanting to congratulate me, which was awesome, but a lot of distractions. And so it was a lot going into the game. And then when I finally was able to step on the field, honestly, that was probably the moment that I was able to finally take a breath and breathe and just be like, this is what I'm here to do. And
Mhm.
that was probably the best moment was when I stepped on the field. And then prior to the game, it was kind of cool. The owners from the Chargers came down and asked to have a picture with me, and
Ah,
so did the coach and stuff like that. And I was told, don't be doing pictures and all that, just, and so I went to my supervisor that was there and I was like, hey, the owners want to take a picture. Is that okay? And he's like, Shannon, whatever the owners want, you do. And I said, well, I didn't know. I didn't want to, do anything I wasn't supposed to do. So a lot of cool moments. A lot of people came up to me, players, congratulations. I have a daughter. What you're doing is awesome. So just a lot of great moments from the first game for sure.
I love it. Way to pave the way with
Oh.
dignity as well. I love it. That's really special. So, how were your nerves?
If you're not nervous, then something's wrong. I mean, you're
Yes.
talking about making history, and it wasn't. I'm always my hardest critic. I am, and if you're not nervous, then I don't know that your
You're
level of
not pushing
caring
it.
is
Yeah.
where it should be. But
Right.
um, so yeah, so there were definitely nerves. I knew there was a lot on my shoulders. It wasn't just about me. It was literally kind of the weight of the world. If a woman gets in and she falls on her face, it's not going to be good for women going forward.
Mhm.
So I really just wanted to represent not just myself, but really all women that wanted to do something special, as well as I didn't want to disappoint the NFL. They took a chance on me, and I wanted to make sure that I did everybody proud. So yeah, there was a lot of nerves.
Yes, I'm quite sure. So how long were you in the NFL?
So, because I came in when the officials were locked out in 2012,
Right.
there was a situation that happened when we were about 4 games into regular season that kind of ended it all for us. But there was about 5 or 6 of us that they identified that they said, hey, don't worry. Whenever this ends, we're going to hire you back. So I was one of those people that I was told, you're going to work many years in this league. Don't worry. But things happen, one by
Yep.
one. The pieces of the puzzle that put it together for me, that helped me to get in, fell apart, and everybody that was in my corner in the NFL office, one by one, they left. And so
Um,
when that happened, I was pretty much drawing dead to get back in. And
mhm.
everything happens for a reason. So
Yes, yes, but you've picked your feet up and you've
yeah.
dusted things off and you're just out there shining every day. I love it. So you've taken what you've learned and propelled forward instead of just beating yourself up and staying stuck, right? Of
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously some emotion and some
course.
disappointment when you're asking yourself, Lord, why did I work so hard to get in, prove myself? Everybody said you did a great job. You're going to work a lot of years. So you're asking questions that you don't always have the answers for. And I can
Mhm.
only attribute it to everything happens for a reason, and God's plan was bigger. And I think one of the reasons why it probably happened the way it did was because there was a bigger story to tell, and it wasn't just about working on the field. And if I was still working the NFL even today, because had I got hired back, I'd still be working today. And
Mhm.
if I got hired back, I wouldn't have been able to write my book and tell the whole story. And I think the story being written was probably as important as me having broken that glass ceiling. So
Yeah,
that might be
I love
why.
that. So tell me some of the most important points of your book to you.
Probably, it's funny because the draw is, of course, being the first female to work in the NFL. But when I was writing the book and rewriting it and working with co-writers and ghostwriters and different things, they said, where's the stories about the NFL? Because I really didn't write a whole lot about the NFL. And they're like, you got to get those in there. And it, for me, that's not really, even though that is the hook, that's
Mhm.
not what the book's about. It's about life. It's about perspective. And my favorite chapter in the book is called Game Changers. And it talks about a young boy that I actually never even met. And it was a friend of mine. It was his grandson. And after the NFL had ended for me, I was still doing my business, still assigning officials. And one of the things I love to do is I love to go out and watch officials work and see what I could do to help them. And so I was out one Saturday morning doing what I do, going looking at officials, and I ran into a good friend of mine, Terry Yosick, and Terry was not himself that day. And I said, "What's going on?" And his eyes filled up, and he said, my grandson Aiden, his cancer is back. And I didn't even know his grandson had cancer.
Yes.
And so he said, we're in the process of planning his 4th birthday early because we don't think he's going to make it.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so I said, Terry, do you want to leave? And he's like, no, this is good for me. And so he said, here's the thing, Shannon. He's like that. My grandson is my hero. And I'm like, why is that? And he said, because through everything, through all the pain, through all the suffering, this kid never complained. And then I'm sitting here thinking, oh, poor me, the NFL fell apart. And so it's just like perspective just hits you straight in the face that, you have a kid that his whole life he battled cancer and he never complained. And
That's all
so,
I knew. Yeah.
yeah, it's just perspective on just, things that are, and so I kind of feel like that's what my book is more about just life and things that are more important. Talk about my downfalls, which I have many, and just how God was there to, bring me back around and show me a bigger picture. And so if the NFL did nothing else, if it did nothing else except give me a platform and give me
Mhm.
more of a voice, then I'm supposed to take that voice and use it however God wants me to. So
I love it. Yes. What a great story that is. I just really treasure things like that in your book that give different perspective and help people be able to see beyond their whatever they're fighting, right?
mhm,
And it helps to drive us all forward because it gives us kind of a little boost of, yeah, you've got this, right?
mhm.
So what was in writing your book, how did you happen to come about writing your book to start with? Let's talk about that.
So for some reason, throughout my entire experience, I saved everything, every piece of communication, whether it was negative or positive, I saved it all. And I
Great.
don't even know why. I put it in a binder. I printed every email. I saved every note. And I had no plans of writing a book. And so
Uh-huh.
I wasn't really even sure why I was saving it. And throughout many years, I heard over and over again, that I need to write a book. And so I was doing after the NFL ended for me, I was doing an interview with Mark McClune, and Mark said, after the cameras were stopped rolling, he said, can I ask you a few questions off the record? And so I was telling him, and he's like, Shannon, you really need to write a book. And I said, well, I've heard that a lot. And as soon as the last door for the NFL for me to get back closed, I remembered what Mark said. And I thought, well, now I can
Mm,
tell the whole story. And
yes.
so, and I had what it took to write that because you can't write a memoir without proof and facts. And
Mm,
so,
right.
without having saved everything, it would have been very challenging to write the story that I did write. So,
Yes.
that's how it
Well,
kind of
and
came.
because we don't always remember it accurately too, correct?
Exactly.
Emotion might cause us to remember one way or the other, and so that's
Right.
really interesting that you saved those.
Mhm.
I'm never gonna write a memoir because I don't save squat. What advice would you give young women or anyone for that reason, anyone, for stepping into spaces where they may feel out of place?
Yeah. So the one big thing right now, I guess, in general for women is the doors have swung wide open. It's a lot different now than when I was trying to do something.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, I don't mean this to sound funny, but almost to a fault where,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, if you look at football games now, there's a woman on almost every game. And
Mhm.
so my only advice is, and are every one of those women prepared and qualified? That's not for me to decide.
Right.
But if you are receiving these open doors, man or woman, but particularly in this case, women, just make sure you're prepared. Back in the day, I
Mhm.
knew I had to be better than a man. I couldn't be as good. I had to be better. So
Mhm.
be better prepared, be in shape, and do all the things that you have to do to just because that door now is wide open doesn't mean you should walk through it blindly. You got to be prepared. So,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to dream big, but it's
Yeah.
not going to come without hard work. And I always tell people, definitely dream big, but work hard. And then, I believe that trusting God is the most key component to that.
Totally agree. What's one game that you'll never forget?
Probably the game that I'll never forget is Florida A&M homecoming.
Okay.
It's not even the NFL, even though there was some great NFL games, but
Uh-huh.
Florida A&M homecoming is just such a unbelievable experience. The Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, the fans are as much about being there for the bands as they are the football games.
It's true.
And Florida A&M, their band is just incredible. So the place, it was homecoming. I was the referee on the game, and the place was packed. I mean, they were tailgating everywhere. They were all over the, along the fence lines. And during halftime, the band for Florida A&M went well past their allotted time, and the visiting coach was going a little crazy. He was not happy. And so as much as I hated to do it, and I was in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, the football games are as much about the bands as they are the football games. And so this particular game at Florida A&M, it was homecoming. Place was packed. It was so much fun. It was such a great environment. And the band went well over the allotted time that they had, excuse me, at halftime. And the visiting coach was not happy about it. So per the direction of my supervisor, I had to flag the band. And I'd never had to flag a band before, but nobody cared. And even
Right.
after I flagged them, they just kept going. I think they went 40 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, but nobody except for the visiting team cared. So it was just
Right.
a great environment, just probably one of the most special memories of officiating football that I had.
I love that. That's really special. Now, is there any particular moment in your career that you say really stands out to you, other than the one that you shared about the
Yeah.
man and his
Pro-
son, grandson?
Probably it was I think it was Seattle. I was in Seattle, and it was they were playing the Cowboys, and there was a play at the end of the game that the defense potentially had jumped off sides, and I didn't flag the defense, and that 5-yard penalty would have kept their drive alive, Seattle's drive alive, and they may have kicked a field goal before going into halftime. And instead, I didn't throw a flag. The drive ended. We went into halftime. My responsibility for that game, I was a line judge, was to go get Seattle's team to let them know when time had expired in half, and it was time for them to head back to the field. And when I was standing outside the locker room, one of the coaches came out. I believe it was a defensive coach, came out and said, "Shannon, why didn't you throw the flag?" And I said, "Listen, coach." And I said, "Here's what I saw." And I explained to him what I saw. I said, the defense wasn't crowding the zone. Yes, the defense jumped, but when the ball was snapped, I could clearly see the ball, indicating to me that the defender was not in the zone. And he just looked at me and he said, "You obviously know what you're doing." And he walked away.
I
And
love it.
so it's moments like that that you have to use to build credibility with coaches. If I would have said, "Coach, you're wrong," and argued and, no, I didn't see. But if you can clearly communicate, that's what they just want to know, what you're doing. And one of my favorite examples I always share besides that is that I love it at the end of the game or anytime when it's time sensitive and the clock is running, it's supposed to be stopped, and the coach is going crazy on the sideline, like, "And the clock's supposed to be stopped. It's supposed to be stopped." And I'm like, "Coach, I got this. It can run down to 0. There's 4.2 seconds on the clock. Don't worry about it." And then he looks at me like, "Okay," and it's just, you can communicate in those kind of situations that, no matter what happens over here, I got you. I've got this game under control for you. Again, communication is a key.
Yes, and level-heartedness and level-headedness as well, right?
Yeah,
Just
and you can't bring emotion into the game. The
yes,
game is very emotional, and
yes.
as an official, if you can't remain the one unemotional piece of the puzzle, then you're going to have nothing but chaos.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, you'll bring it onto yourself, right?
mhm.
So, if your younger self, read your book, what do you think that she would say?
My younger self read my book. Well, I don't know if this quite answers the question, but one
Okay,
thing
that's
about my
okay.
younger self is that I could tell you that I did not have very good balance in my life. So looking back, and maybe when you read the story, you might not completely know that. You'll see that everything I did was thrown into, whether it was competing at an early age or going to camps when I was trying to become an NFL official. Everything I did was about that. And
Mhm,
so at the expense of my relationship with God, my relationship probably with my family,
mhm,
it was just everything was about that. And I'm not
mhm.
saying you shouldn't throw everything into trying to reach your goals and your dreams, but there has to be balance. And
Mm.
that's one thing later in life that I've learned is that there has to be balance in your life. And I don't think I had that as a youngster.
Mhm. Good for you to learn. That's a hard lesson to learn. Some people don't learn their whole life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what would you say to girls now coming into a position like yours or similar? Is any words of advice that you would give them?
Just kind of similar to what I said earlier is just
Okay.
don't, don't expect things to be handed to you just because the doors are now open. You have to work hard. You have to continue to work hard. And you continue to prove that you belong there and make the most of the opportunities that you're given, because it's not going to help moving women forward any further if, you know, let's just say 20 women get into the NFL and 18 of them fail. So if you're given those opportunities, just make sure you're prepared. It's okay to wait till you're ready. And, sometimes something might come to you and it seems like this is great, this is awesome. But if you're not ready, it's okay to say, you know what, I need some more time.
Okay.
So just again, work hard and be prepared for the opportunities that may come your way. You never know
Sounds
who's
like
watching. I always say that when you're working a game, you
sure.
never know who's watching. So make sure every game you work, that you work it like it's an NFL game, even if it's a youth football game. Don't be lazy.
Yes.
Work
Uh,
hard.
So talk about your life growing up. You had a lot of challenges, and what are some different things that you think maybe made you who you are today, good, bad, and indifferent?
Probably the one thing that really helped me a lot was competing in the sport of judo took a lot of discipline. And I think that probably shaped me at a very young age to be a pretty disciplined person throughout my life. So even though there are some, and my mom was one of them, parents that are a little bit overboard with their kids playing sports. My mom was, definitely one that probably lived a little vicariously through me and really pushed me, hard, harder than I wanted at times, probably, but I also wanted to be the best. So who's to say how hard is too hard?
Right.
But yeah, I think sports are a good thing. Well, there's a lot of things that are good, but sports is definitely a good thing for kids, I believe, to learn discipline and to learn to be a team player, learn to have sportsmanship, a lot of lessons that can carry them through life. So I think that really helped me at a young age. I was very competitive. Sometimes the competitive thing is great, but you also have to, keep it in check as well. So
So I'm guessing because you have such a competitive spirit, but I kind of know your heart as well, and personally. So how difficult was it for you to lose when you were younger or now? And what are some things that you've changed or ways that you've been able to change your perspective on that?
yeah, so handling losing is just part of life. I probably was, like I said, I've always been my worst critic. So when I lost, I wasn't somebody that blamed whatever. That's not my style. It
Yes.
was more when I lost, hey, what could I have done differently? How could I improve on this situation? Like, I can give you a great example. The
Uh-huh.
first tournament I ever fought in the senior division, I was 11 years old and just wanted more competition. So I thought I'll start competing 18 and over. Well, didn't realize that at 18 and over, I wasn't even thinking, well, at that age, you can armbar. And one of the first
Ah,
matches I went into, somebody got me into an armbar and I wasn't prepared for it. So I
right,
tapped out immediately, and that taught me, hey, next mat, going into practice, that's what we got to work on. We got to work on
right.
arm bars and defending the arm bar.
Mhm.
So as long as you can lose gracefully, and the biggest thing I always like to think is, from every mistake, learn from it. And I even tell that officials when I go watch them and they're
Yes.
making mistakes, I'm like, listen, that's part of the game. Just next time you make a mistake, make a different one. Don't keep
Yeah.
making the same mistakes over and over.
I
Then
love that.
you might not be getting it. So yeah.
I love that. Next time you make a mistake, make a different one. Learn from this one. I love that.
Yep.
That's great. So what do you find to be your most challenging thing moving forward and looking forward in your years to come?
Hmm.
First of all, let me back up a little bit there, give you a little time to process that as well. So, if I understand correctly, you have sold your business and you're working for a different company now. Is that correct? You want to speak
Yeah,
to that a little bit?
yeah. So at the same time I had a full-time business, I also had a full-time job doing the same thing, but with different entities. And so my business was a lot of youth sports, different districts that weren't working through our other association. Now I am the commissioner of officials for the Canyon Athletic Association, which is high schools and junior highs in the state of Arizona. So that's what I'm doing right now. So it's the same thing, but I did alleviate half of the work that I had, which I
Nice.
needed to. So
Yes, that's great. Great. Okay, now let's go back to the other.
refresh my memory.
Well, let's talk about moving forward from here in your life to come. What things are you looking forward to? What plans do you have that you are excited about? That type of thing. Well,
Yeah. So
in an ideal world, let's
yeah.
talk about ideal world. If everything worked out like you planned, what would it look like?
Yeah, so continue to do what I can to number one, I just want to, whatever I do, I want to please God. And so whatever God's direction is for me, whether it's, reaching out, speaking, um, I would like to continue to promote my book. I have a new book that's I'm just as excited about, if not more, coming
Great.
out this next month that is narrated by one of my dogs. And so
Oh, I love it.
um, yeah, I'm super excited about that. So I'll probably be, promoting that on Instagram and Facebook,
Great.
probably honestly more than my current book. So
I love
um,
it.
and then there's some things I can't really talk too much about, but
Uh-huh.
there's some movie stuff in the works
Okay.
for Lady Ref and stuff like that. But that's stuff I can't really give too much information about right now. So that's super exciting as that unfolds.
Yes. Okay, let's talk about the dogs. I
Yeah.
mean, it is your life.
Yeah. I
Share
love
with
my
us.
babies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the book it's called Lucky Ducky Puppies. And it is basically our day in the life. And it just is a story to remind. I always say I'm the lucky one. And then in the book,
Mm.
the dogs are like, I'm the lucky one. And so just to remind people to always give thanks to their mom. And
Oh,
for each page of the book, something that we do, they say, thank you, mom, for this. And
oh.
it's dedicated to my little Cooper who passed away almost a year ago now. And also to really anybody that is kind enough to open up their heart and their home to love unconditionally. So
Yes.
I'm really excited about it. It's a cute story. It's
Oh, fun.
yeah. So and my
Well,
Roscoe, my Frenchie is narrating it. So it's super
it's
fun.
even better. I love that. I didn't know that he was doing that. That is
Yeah.
so fun. I love it. But so tell me about your early years and siblings, your family situation and everything, if you don't mind.
So my mom, my brother and I were on our own for a little bit until my mom met my dad, who basically took us in, and he
Love
was
it.
dad from that point on and was awesome. Great man. And he passed away, I think now it's almost 3 years ago now. And
Yeah.
so super thankful that he just accepted us as his own children. And my mom was always there with me.
Mhm.
She was the one with me every tournament. She drove me, flew me wherever I needed to go. She was the one that was always there. So, and then my brother, he's 2 years older, lives in Springfield, Missouri. Unfortunately, we're not that close, but he's my brother. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So your brother. I get it. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's sometimes the family relationships are the hardest, aren't they? And they tear
Yeah,
it apart at
definitely.
times for sure.
Definitely.
Yes. Oh, wow. So what type of things out of your book, the key points other than the ones that we've talked about, would you say are most valuable to you in your life, in your how you went about being a lady ref for the NFL?
I think probably the key point is probably perseverance. I mean, I hit wall after wall. As you read the story,
Yes.
it was just constant to the point, honestly, in 2012, I was ready to quit. It
I
was nothing, it wasn't really about quitting. It was about just the realization that being on the scouting list with the NFL for 10 years and being told from my scouts, hey, we've sent in all the reports about how great you are, and they're just not pulling the trigger. And so there comes a time when it's not really even about quitting. It's about just realizing that maybe there's a next step for you. And so in 2012, I had decided I wasn't going to go back to the MEAC. I hadn't told them yet. And I said I wasn't going to get a dog until officiating was over because of travel. And so I went and got a dog. And then the next thing I knew, I got the email from the NFL, listen, is there any chance you're willing to work? Because they went to us that were on the scouting list first, and then opened it up beyond that. And I said, oh, wow, I just got a dog. And, and I knew that there was a chance I was going to be blackballed from college after that, but I was ready to quit anyways. And I didn't want to go back to the MEAC. I had done what I could there. And so I said, you know what, the time is right. I got to do it. And what happens from there. And so, so I would say that's probably the greatest point from the book is perseverance. And then through the story of Aiden, perspective, just gotta have perspective in life. And you think you've got,
yes.
I mean, I'm so blessed,
Right.
And
yes.
so many of us are, and I think we don't even realize it.
Yes.
So I have a friend in our small group who used to tell this story about how she hated washing dishes. And then somebody talked to her about perspective and about how, hey, you should be happy that you have a house and that you have running water and you have dishes to wash. And then she said before she knew it, she was just happy to wash dishes. So it's just, yeah, it can, take over the smallest portion of your life, but open your eyes pretty wide.
What are some things that you do to power forward and to the tools that you use for yourself when you hit a brick wall, when you feel like giving up? Because I'm sure that wasn't the only time you felt like giving up. It was just the time that it came to a point, right?
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't do it without God. That's it. When I'm feeling down, low, high, wherever I'm at in life, I can't, my life is not right unless I am pressed in with him and having my daily time with him. And I mean, that's what keeps me kind of level headed and the highs balanced and the lows brought up. And so, that's for me, I couldn't do it without him.
Yes, I love that and thoroughly believe that. And I know that you do believe it. I've seen you live that out in your daily walk as well. I just love a connection that we have, a genuine connection that we have, and appreciate you as a friend as well. Thank you so much, my friend, for your time here. Appreciate it. You are a genuine, authentic, real person who has their stuff together. I can tell you from this angle of my point of view, you have your stuff together, and I appreciate that, and I admire that in you. You're a special lady for sure. Thank you for your time so much, and just stay with it. Don't give up on it, right?
Absolutely.
I love it. Thank you so much.